Piping is another tool in Marvelous that is tremendous for presentation or to help visualize the assets or the characters. In real life, piping looks something like this. It's a piece of fabric. In this case, it's some kind of, looks like a leather, and there's a rod that goes right through it, and this is how it's done. This kind of detail is used very often, and I'm sure we've seen it in our lives countless of times. So there's a few examples. There's some cushions with leather piping. Then there's a leather bag. Then we have some furniture. It's a chair with piping, and of course we have some clothing with a bit of piping going on there. In Marvelous, the piping should be used with caution. It has one big disadvantage to it, and this disadvantage is the fact that piping inside of Marvelous is a piece of clothing. It's another garment. It works exactly like any other garment that we have in the scene. To create it, we need to go all the way up, select it in here, and the piping can be put on any edge of the garment. It can be put on the very edge of the piece of clothing, or it can be put somewhere on the seams between the garments. It works also on the internal lines, which is amazing, because we can, using some tools in Marvelous, for example pen tools or line tools, we can trace a pattern, and if we like it, we can create some nice looking geometry in the form of piping on this pattern. To start making the piping, we need to click and then simply move the mouse. If the design is proving to be complex and it goes all the way across the object, we can click and then rotate the camera and continue drawing our line. To close the shape, we need to double click, and that's how we get our piping. Now, inside of the piping itself, we have some options. We have the width, we have the particle distance, and this is what I mentioned earlier, that it works just like a piece of garment, a piece of clothing. We can change the distance, we can change the resolution of the geometry, we can hide the piping. It doesn't really hide, but it gets translucent, so it's not so in the way. And the last thing is the fabric itself. In here we can change the fabric, and if we want to make something unique in here, we can go inside of the property editor and modify this fabric any way we want. We have the back, we have the side, we have the option to choose normal map, to choose texture map, and do all kinds of modifications, just like we would with any other fabric that we create in Marvelous Designer. There are also some options if we go into edit piping and right click on the seam where we've created the piping. In here we can refresh the piping if it does something that we don't want it to do. It falls through, it clips through objects, so we can refresh it and it will go on top of the garment. We can freeze it, which is just like any other garment. We can change the geometry by quadrangulating it or getting back to triangles. We can hide it, and we can...
If you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description.
Click show all piping, so everything is solid again. Now here's that disadvantage that I mentioned at the beginning. Since piping works like a piece of garment, it means that it will be interacting with every garment that is underneath this piping, and this could be quite a bit problematic if we are working on a character or some kind of prop or some asset that has multiple layers of fabric. And if we change those layers, if we go to a layer that is higher than 0 and piping seems to be lying on the first layer, which is layer 0, so if we go in here in our garment and we change it to, let's say, 1, and we simulate, this is what happens. The piping falls right through the garment, and if we hide one of these pieces, we can see that the piping is lying right on the back side of this fabric. So as we can see, this can be quite problematic sometimes. So this option, this feature of marvelous piping is amazing when it comes to some kind of borders of the clothing, or if there's this is a piece of furniture or piece of some kind of clothing that is not necessarily active and doesn't have any layers that are higher than 1. And if it is a character and we do want to create some kind of piping effects on it between the garments on the seams, and maybe something like this, like we have here on the chest, what we need to do is to use piping at the end of the project when we have everything in place, and we can be sure that we like everything and this is the final touch before we export everything into another piece of software. And piping, since it's just like any other geometry in Marvelous, it can be exported in another program, which is a tremendous feature. If this is the final stage of the process, then this should be used without any issues. If not, this should be thought through before we create this kind of effect on our models.